Hello, gorgeous, and welcome to the Women on Top podcast. I'm your host, Valerie Lynn, and with over 15 years of business experience, I became truly passionate about finding ways to support and hear from way more women. And what we know to be true is that women thrive when they are in their favorite position, on top in business, in relationships, in personal growth, and on top in being real and authentic to who the hell they are. So I invite you to sit back and enjoy the Women on Top podcast. Okay, well, oh my goodness. Welcome back to the show, everybody. I am really looking forward to having this conversation. Today, we have a really special guest who's sitting in front of me right now. We have Kim Della Porta, who is a mom coach. She's a health advocate. She is also the mom currently of two energetic boys who have a passion for all the things. I feel like she is supporting them. She is supporting her. She is supporting moms. And she really has this way of like spreading joy and positive energy. It's been really fun getting to know her over the course of the last several months. And she also really helps her clients create this life that they love. And so as moms, that can be challenging because there's so much going on in your world as a mom. I am not a mom myself, but I have lots of friends who are moms, and I know the chaos that can come with that title. So part of what and the way that she does this is she helps moms really build flexible routines. She helps them with stress management tools and just different ways that they can create more support and flexibility and fun in their life. And I think that this is so different because I haven't met many coaches like this. I haven't met many women running a business who have this structure of, I'm going to help you create a routine that involves less stress. I'm going to make sure that your life feels really juicy and really in alignment with who you are. So I love that this is your focus and your passion now. And I just want to say, I'm so glad that you're here on the show with me today, Kim.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that I'm here too. I'm so excited to finally be able to record a podcast with you.
I know it's been kind of a long time coming in the sense that we've been chatting about doing this episode together. So Kim and I have worked together a couple of months ago. We were doing some things which we'll kind of get into, but it's been really fun to get to know her on a deeper level. And now she has some really fun and exciting things that are coming up as well that we'll talk about too. But first, I want to get into kind of like, how did you even get into this, right? Because again, this is such a specific niche area, I guess, of the market. And I feel like this isn't something you probably just stumbled on and decided to do one day. So what was your journey like getting into this work specifically?
Right. So for as long as I can remember, back until like middle school, high school, like I always wanted to help people. Like I was always doing like volunteer work. I was like the president of like the Key Club, which is like the community service club in high school. I went through college and I went to school for marketing and business because that's what I thought I should do at the time, because you're 18 going into college and you think like, how am I going to make money? So I went to school for marketing. 2 days after graduation, I started a job because that's what you think you're supposed to do. And I ended up working in marketing and PR for about 10 years. And through that journey of working like in the professional world, I did marketing and like media buying. And then I transitioned over to working at nonprofits. And through that kind of like helped me kind of narrow down, like, yes, I wanted to help people, but I could never find something that was like 100% the right fit. And when I had my first son, we decided that I was going to stay home with him. And from that point is like when I felt like a big shift happened. And I really wanted to feel healthy and feel good in my body and, set a good example and be like healthy for the family. But as you can probably guess, like doing all of the things that you have to do can be sometimes exhausting. And so I kind of got like a little burnt out. And I have a friend who was a health coach, and it was like a very new job to have like back then, like, because I've been doing this for like about 5 years. So, and I had never heard of it. So I like met with her. And from that point, I was like, yes, like that sounds awesome. I want to like help people be healthy. Like that's a great support system to have. But it was like more recently that I decided to like narrow it down even more. I think I always knew I wanted to work with moms, but again, I was like nervous that if I said like I was going to only work with moms, that I would like narrow down my audience too much.
Yeah.
But more recently, I just decided like, yes, that's who I want to work with, and I want to like fully stand in that. And so I kind of rebranded myself as like a mama coach instead of a health coach who works with moms.
Yeah. I love that you have that as your title. I really like the mama coach. That's unique. So when it comes to kind of the shift, because I feel like sometimes there's this fear that I hear from moms, from women who want to go from this maybe job that they thought that they wanted into motherhood, and then they're trying to still figure it out. And so was the transition hard as far as like, do you feel like you are giving up parts of yourself and still like trying to figure out, I guess, like the path forward? Because again, I think the reason I'm asking this question is because I hear sometimes, and I think for myself, that I would be afraid of like, I want my identity to be around my family and my kids, but I also would want the identity to live on as far as like, where am I supporting others and giving back to the world and being kind of in this like business minded mentality. So
Mhm.
how did you see your way through that? And was that a challenge for you at all?
So one of the things I always talk about with like my mom clients is that, you were somebody before you had kids, and like that
Mhm.
person might be different now, but you are still somebody else. You're still somebody apart from your family and your kids. And it's okay to have those hobbies and have those interests. And sometimes we get just so all consumed in like the family that it's hard to kind of have that identity outside of that.
Yeah.
But if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not like, you can't really pour from an empty cup, right? You have to take care of yourself first and make sure you're on your own to-do list. Otherwise, like everything else and everyone else will suffer, because that's when like the resentment comes in and the anger comes in, and like you feel like all I do is stuff for other people, but I'm not doing anything for myself.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever feel like you experienced that for yourself, like moments of resentment, anger, and um, yeah, I guess what did you do in those times if you had them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, back before I started my business, it was like a pretty hard time because, you're home all day and it's just like the same thing over and over again. And, sometimes you can feel a little upset that like if you have a partner and they go to work and they get to like talk to adults, and you have a just are home with a baby all the time, and that can be very difficult, right? And so having, finding that support system
Yeah.
for yourself is so important. And that's one of the things that I hope to be for the moms that I work with, because motherhood can be something that feels very lonely, especially in the beginning. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so important to like realize that like you're not alone and you don't have to do everything yourself. And there are people out there just like me who like want to help you. So you need to find those people, whether they're like your friends, your coaches, whoever, like so you don't need to feel alone.
Yeah. So, as you're talking about this, you also like your biggest niche kind of is this whole idea around stress management, time management. So, does that tie in to health? Like, how does that all tie together? And why, or how did you just find that specifically? How did you know this is the thing I need to help moms with?
So I think that I have usually, most of the time, I'm pretty good with managing my time. And one of the main things that I hear my mom say is I don't have enough time,
Mm,
because they're juggling all of these different things. They're juggling maybe working outside the home, they're juggling everything with their kids and their family and their pets and, everything like that. And sometimes it's not that they don't have enough time, it's that they're not using it efficiently. So, like, I have a free time management training where we do like an audit of our time and we see how we think we're spending it. We compare it to how we're like actually spending it. We look at how much time we're spending on our screens, which is usually way more than people think. And that's like a big, huge time waster. So when you can kind of like take that time back, then you can do more of the things that like light you up, like your hobbies and your self-care and the things that like make you feel like you, versus just being bogged down and having to do all of the things you have to do.
right. Yeah. So, what taught you time management? How did you learn? Because I don't think this is something that I'm guessing it wasn't innate, or maybe some of it was innate, but you've really like refined this or you've sharpened it like a knife, kind of, you know? So, what was it that, yeah, how did you learn these skills in time management?
Honestly, I cannot remember how I did it. Maybe it's just a
Yeah.
natural talent of mine. I think from like a pretty young age, I was doing a lot of stuff on my own. And my parents got divorced when I was in middle school. And so like I did a lot of things to be like more self-sufficient. I got a job when I was in high school and when I was in college. And I think just being able to like balance all of that and like manage my time throughout that, it just kind of carried through like
Mhm.
to my adult life. And I don't necessarily think that I would consider myself, I don't necessarily think that I would consider myself to be like the top time management guru, right? But like maybe I'm a little bit better, or I have a little bit more experience, or I have a tactic that you haven't tried before.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think it's all about just finding what works for you. Just as like in anything that I teach my moms, like it's not one size fits all. You have to like figure out like look at your schedule, look at your routines, look at your stress management, look at your time management. Like what are you currently doing? How do you feel about that? Is it working? Is it not working? So just
Yeah.
kind of figuring out like doing that audit piece is like so important.
Yeah. I like that you have the audit. I think that that would be the thing I would be most resistant to. I feel like that would feel really tricky. So I'm wondering, are you experiencing that, I guess, with your clients? Do you find that they're resistant to like actually diving in and really peeling back the layers on where they spend their time? And then as a second part to that question, what are some of the top ahas? Like, I'm guessing it's really the screen time, but like, where are you seeing the biggest time wasters, I suppose?
Yeah, so I think that for the people who I've done the time management workshop in person with them, they really like it because they get to like sit down and kind of figure out how they would estimate like how they spend their day. And then the writing down what you do is like something you do afterwards.
Mm.
But the resistance part comes when you have to like actually like open up your phone and look at the data and see like how many times did you pick up your phone? Like in that training, I show like a screenshot of my phone to like show you that this is how many hours I spent. This is 150 times I picked up my phone in a day. Like I'm not immune from it, but it's the first step is knowing
Mm.
that, and then you can make the decisions and the changes to fix that habit, right? Or to, make it better, whether it's turning off notifications on your phone, or whether it's like doing certain areas of your house or times of day where it's like screen free time or something like that. So those are just like a couple ideas for like the screen portion of it. I would say that the screen time is definitely like one of the bigger time wasters. I also think that people will do different tasks that don't necessarily mesh well together. And then there's
Mm.
like a lot of time to transition. So like
Mm.
if you're a business owner and you're doing like one thing on the computer and then you have to go do this thing and then you have to go do this thing instead of like blocking all of your computer work together or blocking all of your chores together for one chunk during the day, like you put your laundry in and then you do your dishwasher and then you like vacuum and then by that time the laundry's done and you flip it over, like trying just figuring out like what works for your schedule. But
Mhm.
when it's like piecemeal like that, you waste a lot of time kind of transitioning, like thinking about, okay, what do I have to do next?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where the routines come in,
Mhm.
because that takes some of that like decision fatigue out, right? It's like you don't have to like think about like what to do next because in the morning I wake up, I empty the dishwasher, I do this, I do that, I get the kids on
Mhm.
the bus. Like having those routines in place just makes things like run so much more smoothly. Yeah.
Time management and stress management feel like go hand in hand. So, what are the top stressors that you're seeing that come from your clients?
Think them thinking that the lack of time is definitely like a huge stressor. And then just having, the such a big load of all of the things to do for the family and maybe feeling guilty if they have, that mom guilt where they like want to go out and do something, but then they have to rely on somebody else to, delegate something to either their partner or a babysitter, stuff like that. I feel like those are like big things like just in like the family that can be stressful.
Mhm.
Um, you know, outside work, health concerns, or concerns about safety, or, there
Yeah.
are literally so many things that can like cause all of the stress, and it's a compound effect. And
Hmm.
so kind of trying to figure out like the ways that you can like dig deep and down and see like what are the things that are stressing you out? Are they like things that you can either eliminate? Can you like say no to less things? Can you just like change stuff in your schedule? Can you implement those routines that take like if your morning is super stressful, like what can you do the night before to like make it so that the morning is like less stressful? Is it like making the lunches? Is it putting stuff out? Is it putting out your clothes? Is it whatever it is?
Hmm.
Like taking those things that will make you feel better in the moment and doing it ahead of time. So like I always like talk about like the preparing like the night before or like meal prep for the week, right? Like, do I really want to spend like a lot of time on Sunday like meal prepping? Probably not, but it saves you so much time during the week
Right.
that that's why so many people do it.
Right. Right. Yeah, I really like that, you're kind of identifying different places in people's lives where they really have to look at it differently because it's like you said, if left to chance or just left to autopilot, you're just running on this operating system that tells you to do 9 million things and nothing is really prepared, maybe in advance. And so
Mhm.
I feel like you're kind of creating this life audit for women where they're really taking a look at where are you the most stressed and like where are you feeling burned out, and let's work on that. So burnout, these things are like a compound effect, like what you just mentioned. Have you yourself experienced being burnt out as a mom? And when you were or do experience that,
Mhm.
what are those tools that you immediately reach for to help you climb out of that?
I think that following COVID, like when we were like all home and like I had two small kids and like my husband was working from home and like we were all on top of each other and like I had a preschooler and a baby and we're trying not to disturb Zoom calls and like stuff like that, like so hard, right? So like shortly after that, I felt like I experienced like a lot, like looking back, like a lot of stress and anxiety. And I really had to buckle down and like look for like the root cause and like try and figure out like what I could do, like how could I manage my stress? Like was it like delegating tasks or saying no to more things or doing some sort of like stress relieving activity? Because when you're feeling so stressed and doing all of those other things, kind of like taking care of yourself gets put on the back burner and that like just perpetuates like the feeling of like having no time and being burnt out. So that was kind of like, looking at my life at the time and trying to figure out like where are the places that I could like make improvements to kind of like reduce the stress a little bit because we all have stress. It's not going to go away. If you can reduce stress in some parts, like that's good. If you can react to it a little bit differently, like that's also good, right? So like just like figuring out the places that you can do those things. And the second thing was like looking at the routines that I had during that time and like whether they were like helping me or hindering me. Like was I doing stuff that was helping me save time or was I, not doing any of that and implementing things that could like help me during that time. And so I think all of that as well as like leaning on like a trusted circle of people to like share like the load and
Yeah.
like talk about like how you're feeling so you know that you're not alone and you know that like other people are experiencing the same thing so like it makes you feel more supported.
Again, like I really appreciate the fact that you have such a keen eye for this and like it just comes so innately to you. So I feel like for me, when I look at you, I'm like, okay, she is kind of a guru. Like to me, you seem more kind of like a guru in this stuff, obviously, than I am because I don't work with clients like this. I don't, manage stress in the ways that you do or my time management skills. So I'm curious for someone like you, what are
Mhm.
you currently working on now? Like, what is something that you feel like, oh, I really want to improve here? And what is it that you are doing to work on improving that thing?
So right now I'm trying to figure out like my best routine for the current moment because I think that as we go from like summer to fall, like the kids just went back to school and my husband started his own business, so he's working from home a lot and he's like teaching at a local college. So like we're trying to figure out like all of our schedules and figure out like what routine will work best for us
Yeah.
and not making something that's not working work. Like try and make it work, right? So like all summer, for example, like I tried to wake up early so that I could work out before the kids woke up. And that did not work because they would just wake up earlier and they would come downstairs and then I would be there halfway through my workout and then I would be annoyed. Wasn't really their fault, but like they needed me to like help them with stuff. And so instead, what I decided to do was I would get a little bit of extra sleep. And then when they woke up, I would wake up, we would do our morning stuff, and I would start my morning routine after I dropped them off at camp. So that's when I would do my workout, my shower, my, everything else that I wanted to do that I had ideally thought that I would do before they woke up. I would do it then. So that's what worked for me in the summer. So now I'm trying to figure out what will work for me now in this new season because it's so important to look at what you're currently doing, what's working, what's not working, and adapt it and change. And it's not like a failure, but it can sometimes feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
But just making it work for you so that,
Yeah.
you're getting the stuff that you want to get. I'm still getting everything done.
Yeah.
It just might not be like in the way you think you're supposed to.
I love that you shared how we have to adapt and really look at the season that we're in because it's like you say otherwise we have these preconceived notions about how we're going to be successful and what that might look like when the reality of that is it might be very different, but you can still include the thing. It's just a matter of how and when and
Mhm.
incorporating that into your
Yeah.
daily schedule. Do you have any, for moms who are maybe listening in and now that you've been doing this for a while, do you have any kind of like not tricks, but kind of like things that you've learned that have really helped you and your family? I mean, obviously, like the bigger concept here is like, time management, but are there specific smaller things that have been like, oh gosh, this really was a game changer for us?
The number one thing that I always tell people is that like it's so important. I said this before, but it bears repeating that like it's so important for you as a mom to take care of yourself.
Mm.
And, because if you don't, then it's like a losing battle. So like it's not really good for anyone because you won't be showing up to your fullest potential as a mom, as a
Right.
partner, as a friend. And when you don't take that time, again, like it builds up and you feel that resentment and the frustration. So that's number one. And number two is that your routines don't need to be elaborate to be effective.
Mm.
They can be short, sweet, to the point. Like it doesn't need to be like a 2 hour, like I said, like a 2 hour morning routine. Like if your morning routine is just like getting up and having your coffee and making your to-do list, great. Like whatever works for you, like works for you. And it doesn't have to be for anybody else. So I think that people often think like they need to do certain things, but like who's telling you that you need to do it that way?
Yeah. Yeah. I really love that. I kind of also I appreciate the no frills approach.
Yeah.
Sometimes your life gets to be the byproduct of the unsexy work that you put in now, right? And so I feel like that's true for me even more recently. I learned, I should be eating breakfast. This is so silly. I didn't used to eat breakfast. I would kind of do this like sort of intermittent fasting, aka lazy girl style.
Mhm.
And then I learned the importance of, balancing my blood sugar, really regulating my nervous system, really taking care of myself. And so now I am making myself like this overnight oats and like chia seed thing that I just throw together the night before. But
Mhm.
it's been a game changer. And it's not like it's a big frilly like fancy routine. It's
Mhm.
just a very simple practice that has helped me so that when I have a day like today where I'm back to back, I literally just grab that and I eat that, and that is my that's the thing that sets
Right.
me
So
up for
that's you
success.
preparing ahead of time. You're making your breakfast so that you don't have to take the time to make your breakfast because
Yeah.
if you don't, then you won't eat.
Right.
So, right. So you're taking the time to make it a little bit easier for like your future self, right? You have to like think about like, okay, what's going to make it easier tomorrow for future Valerie? Like
Yeah.
what can I do?
That's a good way to look at it too, is what can I do to help my future self? What can I do to help my tomorrow version of me?
Mhm.
Because I think, sometimes we're so caught up in the day to day, what's happening now, and I just want to get through this moment. But if we're actually thinking about tomorrow, it might actually kind of help us have that mindset. What would you I mean, this is kind of an innate skill that you have, this time management, stress management stuff that just you feel like you are called to help moms with this so that they can have a more rich and fulfilling life they really love. And you bring so much joy to your work. I love that too. But, are there kind of pieces from your childhood that you can look at and see, oh gosh, this is kind of what qualified me to do this now, or this kind of connects a dot to here, and that's how some of this work has shown up for you.
So what's really funny about that question is that I didn't always want to be a mom, which is a very interesting thing for a mama coach to say, right? So like good for a good part of my life, like I wasn't sure. I had parents who got divorced. So like that kind of gives you pause for like getting married, like having kids, like all of that kind of thing. And so once I figured out that I really did want to be a mom, like then I was all in, right? And I wanted to do all the things to keep myself healthy. But that's like when I got the burnout. And when I really like took a look at what I needed to address in my life, I noticed that like managing my stress was like a big one, implementing routines that could add like the ease and joy like back into my life. Um, and I have that want and the need to like help others. Like I talked about, like I had been helping others, like volunteering and having that like need like throughout my whole life to just wanting to like help and like coach others. So I can say that like I have evolved into a person where like I've been there and I've been in that place where I was like stressed out and crying on the floor. And I know it sounds dramatic, but like, that's like a real thing that like happens to us. And I've been through so many different versions of myself in my head of like, what do I want to offer? And all of the different ways that I can like serve the community. And I just landed on like, I want to be a mama coach. I want to be able to support moms. I want to, be able to guide them through their journey. Like I've been there. I have two kids. I've had the ups and downs. So just
Yeah.
like having sharing, that like you wouldn't want a mama coach who wasn't a mom, right? So like, I've been there and I've been able to like master certain skills
Mm-hmm.
and I can help other people do it in a way that is less time intensive. Like I don't want you to have to like spend 9 years trying to figure out how to manage your stress. Like I want
Mm-hmm.
to show you how to do it like quick to the point so you can like start feeling better now.
Yeah. What's really powerful about this, I mean, there's so many different pieces, but I feel like the version of you today is being in service of the previous version of you. And that is really such a like guiding force, I think, for you. And that's your deeper why for all of this, because it doesn't sound dramatic. There's moms out there right now who might be listening to this that are going through those emotions, that are having the tears or the stress or the anger or the outbursts of rage or whatever is happening for them that feels unpleasant. And
Mhm.
so, what you're helping them do is like manage their unpleasant emotions that come as a byproduct for kind of not having the routine and not being able to manage all of this. And of course, like you said, we all deal with stress, but man, if we can incorporate some of this structure, then that really can lessen, and we can fall back on something that's familiar that we don't even have to think about, that doesn't add to that. So that's really, really beautiful. And I just love so much of your story and how you've connected it to what you're offering today, which brings me to the next thing, which is what are you creating? And tell us about some of the ways that women can work with you.
So I have my free time management training, which I already talked about, and I can give that link to Valerie. And I am launching a brand new online course, Go at Your Own Pace, Lighten the Load of Motherhood, Stress Management, and Routines for Moms. And I have been working on this for what seems like years. It's been an idea in my head. And, I finally got the push earlier this year to record everything, to make all of the assets for it. And on September 16th, it is going to be available to buy, and I'm so excited for it. It is just all about like understanding your stress, finding ways to manage your stress. The time management portion is inside of there. There's goal setting, routines, nurturing your relationships. There's so much goodness like all packed into this course, and you get access forever. And any updates that happen, you get those when they come out. And it's go at your own pace. So you can go through the modules, print out the worksheets, do them online. Everything is fillable, and do it as many times as you want, because I want you to be able to start feeling better now.
Mm.
I don't want you to take like years to manage your stress and implement the routines. I want you to do it now.
I feel so much fire coming from your voice, which I just love. It gets me so excited for this program. And congratulations, first of all. So much work has gone into this. And for those of you, listening, Kim is a wizard. And so she is the person that you want in your back pocket, in your ear with these videos. She really tactically like breaks this down into very like digestible increments. So it's not that you're like committed to watching this like 4 hour video. It's not that. And so I also really appreciate that. Just in general, I would want something like that. That's really easy for me to kind of click through, get something that's downloadable and something I can fill out for myself. And basically, you're helping create like a blueprint, I think, for people in their life. And like, here's your map, right? Here's how we're gonna get from A
Yeah,
to
and the last thing I want to do is like make you more stressed by like trying to do this course, right? So like all of the modules are like the videos in them are like super concise, to the point. You watch it and then you have some activities or some worksheets that you can use to like implement it so you can start feeling better right away.
Yeah.
You can start changing your routines. You can start improving your stress management, doing all of those things, you know, and you kind of come away with a plan for your stress management, for routines that are going to work with you, for setting goals, whether it's for your health goals or your business goals or anything like that. Like all of that is inside the course.
Mm-hmm.
And it just makes it really easy for you to watch something, apply it, and live it.
Yeah. I feel like also this gives women so much. So it's the stress and the time management in that blueprint. But what it gives you on the opposite end is this life that feels more like a breath of fresh air. And so I guess, yeah, kind of articulate that of what do you feel like it's giving you in your own life that has brought you a greater sense of fulfillment or freedom or whatever it is.
I feel like it really gives you like more, that gives you the time back. Because
Mm,
when you do that time management piece and you find the time wasters and you kind of like integrate that with like creating routines that work for you, then you have more time for the things that bring you joy, whether it's playing with your kids or going out with your friends or doing a hobby or exercise or anything like that. Like I feel like it just gives you more time to be you and to like step into that person, because we talk time and time again about how it's so important to take care of yourself, and it's one of the last things usually on mom's list, but it
yeah.
needs to be at the top.
This is the way to take care of yourself too. Like if you really think about it, because what you just, shared too is that you're like cutting out the fat and really getting to the core of where can we eliminate some of this fluff and then where do you get to amplify yourself. And so what are some of those fun things that bring you joy? You talk about like creating more space to be you, to bring you joy. What are some of those things for you? I think it's like, yeah, anyway. What do you do in
Well,
your
you
life?
probably know some of the
I
things.
know.
You know that I love gardening. We have a vegetable garden at our house. We love doing that as a family. We're always out there and we're like planting things and doing stuff like that. My boys love to like go and like run around and like go to parks and do all that. So we have like a ton of time that we like spend outside. Like we were outside like almost all summer when they weren't, at camp, like going to playgrounds. And I am a avid country music fan and went to so many concerts this summer because I just had so much more time to do that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that Kim was like having the best summer. I feel like every time I turn around, I'm like, you are at another concert and you're launching a program and you're a mom. So all of the things are possible. And I appreciate how you help people really be unique to them. And that this is not a one size fits everyone. This is a one size fits everyone in the sense that they get to tailor it to their life. And that's the beauty of this too. This is not a rigid program in that way. It's like so the opposite. So
Yes.
Thank you
Absolutely.
for creating something
Yes.
for people. Thank you for reminding me about how important these things are too, because I feel like even just from this conversation, I feel more lit up about continuing to audit. I've been really being a little more mindful of my phone and my scroll time. And man, what a challenge that has been. But
Mhm.
it's really helped to unplug from some of that. So this has been such a powerful conversation. I love to have our guests, like whoever I interviewed last, left a quote for you, and then I'll give you the opportunity to leave, a piece of advice or wisdom or whatever for our next guest. So the last guest that I interviewed, she shared this: be your own personal best while you're climbing your alternative peaks. Your own personal best might vary dramatically, but be your own personal best while you climb alternative peaks. Hopefully that hits you in some kind of
Yeah,
way.
I love that.
We all have our own alternative peaks that show up in our life. We thought we were maybe going towards some sort of mountaintop, then we shift,
Mhm.
your mountaintop of marketing and business, which
Yep.
then shifted into coaching. So,
Yeah.
that was kind of articulated in our conversation. But what would you like to share with the
So I
next?
wrote it down. So I'm going to look over here because I
Okay.
had to, because I knew you were going to ask me that and I wanted to make sure it was good. So there are people out there that need to hear exactly what you have to say. And you shouldn't dull yourself down or try to fit in a box that wasn't made for you. You are meant to shine, so shine bright and exactly as you are.
Ooh, I get chills often when people share these, and that is so good. And I just got chills. So I think this resonates for not just for me, but I feel like you've been doing this too. Like this is a lived experience for yourself that you're sharing your authentic self and your voice and your story with the world. And that is what is coming through in this work and in our conversation. And thank you for doing that, because so many more women are going to be impacted by this, and just your program is amazing. Your coaching, so for folks who are looking for coaching too, you still offer that as well.
Yeah, so I still offer one-on-one coaching and you can look me up. Instagram is Kim Della Porta, and then my website is kimdellaporta.com. So you can find my coaching programs on there. You can find the access to the waitlist for my online course that's going to be dropping. And if you get on the waitlist, you really want to be on the waitlist because you're going to get a discount. You're going to get the first like 5 people are going to get a free 30-minute planning call with me. And there's also going to be a bonus PDF that's all about stress and hormone management. So those are some of the things that are on the wait list people get. And I'm so excited about it. I know I just like keep talking about it, but I'm just so excited.
No, it's awesome. I mean, this is such a jam-packed program, I feel like. So I love that you're doing this. Thank you so much for being here. This has been such a good conversation. I just adore you as a human. And
Oh,
I
thank you. I adore
also like
you.
you just make this like routines and things that to me sound a little like, okay, I have to do that. It's kind of boring in my mind. Like you really like turn the dial up and make it like, how can I make this really fun? How can I help you learn about yourself? And how can I like have you walk away with something that you can take action on, like you keep saying today, like you can start feeling better right now.
Yeah, right now.
So
You can
I
do it right
love it.
now. So make sure you get on the wait list because you can do it right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely jump on that wait list. Thank you so much, Kim, for being here, sharing your heart with us today. It's been amazing to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning into the show today. And before you go, I just have one quick favor to ask of you. There is a really simple way that you can help support me and help support this show, and that is to hit that follow button on whatever app you're listening to the show on. I'm trying really hard to level up the content and deliver unique value and amazing guests, and just hitting that follow button is the magic that will help continue to empower that. And remember that the world deserves to hear your voice and your stories, and you deserve a place at the top.